Welcome to Media Awareness 101. In this course, 8th graders will study types of media and be aware of the benefits and consequences. Towards the end, they'll be able to appropriately and responsibly conduct research using reliable sources in any content. When students first arrive at our Media Awareness 101 course, they will see our announcements page. On this page, we have 3 examples of different types of announcements, from a welcome message to a test reminder to a reminder of a synchronous Google Hangout. There are different examples of ways that you can use the announcement tool to keep students engaged and aware of what's happening in the course. For example, these reminders would post for certain amounts of time. The test reminder may post a few days before the window is open and then delete right after that window is closed. The Google Hangout reminder is especially critical to be posted right before that date to give students that instant reminder that this one synchronous moment is very important in the course. So announcements will be utilized in different ways throughout. If we look at the overview of each module, you'll see we go from an introduction to media in Module 1 to more complex by Module 3. In the module overview, students will see that it begins with a hook and how they can imagine the world with less technology or less ability to communicate. Students of this age have never experienced life without the internet, so this hook is especially important for them to put them in the mindset of evaluating the benefits and consequences of different types of media and how they have changed society throughout history. It also shows them the outcomes and instructional objectives, and students in 8th grade are pretty used to writing and recording objectives from the whiteboard daily in brick and mortar schools. So this is now something that we're carrying over into the online course and not only including it on the blueprint for us as instructors to know about, but for students to be aware as well. Completes the following is on every module, and it's that to-do list that allows students to really have a clear expectation list of items that they need to complete in each module. And this consistency will help because anything we know about middle schoolers is they struggle to keep up with due dates and organization. So by following the same exact format in each module and having complete the following really stand out, I think this will be critical for students to follow along and not slow down or miss things in each module. As you scroll down, you can see the Module 1 lecture video is there. If students click on Watch Video, in just a moment you'll see a video will appear that will walk them through an introductory basic understanding of what they need to know to be successful in this module, and that base knowledge that we try to give every student in what we call front loading. So just providing some of that basic context and evening the playing field for students with different ability levels. So when I hover over, students are directed that they're allowed to click and watch. And when you click play,
Welcome to Module 1 of Media Awareness 101. This module is called Introduction to the Media.
so it will walk students through the basic definition of media, how we'll use it in this module, and what they need to understand as that foundational understanding and knowledge that will allow them to be successful. As we scroll down, you can see the readings and resources. And while some of the examples are more text than they are images, all are examples of multimedia. My favorite example in the reading and resources section for Module 1 is the original Hindenburg disaster video. This is such a great example for students of this age to see how technology like television can make people so excited to see and witness these wonders of the world, and again, how tragic and horrifying it can be to watch terrible disasters unfold on television for the first time. So it really drives home that understanding. The concept checks are a brief run through of all the highlights of the readings. So, what were some of the benefits and consequences? What are the different types of media? When did each come out? And those will be shown in another module, but they're basically multiple choice questions. And you can retake that as many times as you need, and it's really informative for students to understand what they're doing right and what they need to work on. The Module 1 discussion has both the goal stated and the prompt. In this case, they're going to think of a time when media was contradictory and walk themselves through some questions. What type of media was it? What information could you believe? How does it relate to the reading? So, connecting the different elements of this module together. Below this, you'll see the media analysis assignment. And what's really important that's attached to this is a rubric that will help students understand how their assignments are scored throughout this module. So students can view the directions, view the rubric, and really have a clear understanding of what's expected of them to do well on that assignment. Module 2 is called Is It Fake or Is It Real? And this is a great kind of middle step for students, going from that basic historical understanding of what is media, when was it developed, how did it immediately affect life for humans in that region where it was invented. So now we need to start looking at what are characteristics of reliable media regardless of time period, and say, how can we sort and really evaluate more critically. So the outcomes and instructional objectives are once again here. The overview is a hook that allows students to think, have you ever been misled? Which for an eighth grader is very captivating. They often feel a level of mistrust and am I being taught the right information or am I being lied to? Again, if you scroll down, you can see there's a module lecture, which is a kind of multimedia walkthrough that uses the same template as module 1 and 3 to keep some consistency, even though their instructor varies. So in just a moment, we'll click on module 2 lecture, and you'll see that even though there's some differences between instructors, it does feel like a coherent and consistent flow to the class. So students will click.
Good morning and welcome to Modular 2.
And you can tell in this module there's some music that wakes students up a little bit, and Garrett gives them an excellent overview of what's going to be in this module, what are the big takeaways that they should know. And all of 3 videos in the different modules are really under 5 or 6 minutes to keep that interest and engagement aware for students. So, readings and resources in this section has a variety of different types of resources. Some examples are modern news sources like USA Today. Some are geared towards students like the TED Ed blog. So, regardless of where students are, they're getting a different perspective and a slightly different take on the content that they're trying to absorb. And the Module 2 concept checks are a really great way of demonstrating that understanding before the final summative assessment. So when students click on the Module 2 concept checks, they'll come to a screen that has multiple choice questions, and they'll click begin. And as they do that, the questions will be displayed. So it's important to note here that there are about 2 questions, which keeps this short and simple for students. But it's also really helpful for them to get an at a glance understanding on if they're truly understanding what they're reading. So students can retake the concept checks as many times as they need to in order to get a passing score or score they're happy with. So below that, you can see that this module has a journal. A journal is an excellent place for a student to communicate one-on-one with their instructor rather than always having to post in a discussion forum. So module 2 kind of provides an alternate way of communicating, while module 1 was that public discussion. So in here, they'll find a specific example of media, and they'll walk through those characteristics of reliability and credibility, and this will give some formative feedback for a student from their perspective, from their professor one-on-one, just letting them know how their understanding is doing and what more detail they need in their explanation. In the assignment, you can see that there's a list of articles to explore, and the goal is for students to really spend some time critically evaluating each article and determining what characteristics led them to their understanding of whether or not that source was reliable. This will provide that summative feedback and really that clear determination of growth throughout the module and whether or not students have made any progress. Very end, there is a section called Looking Ahead that helps to link this module to the next, and this will be that definite necessary understanding for students to make connections and to understand how their skills are building from one place to another. So now if we navigate to Module 3, you'll see the culminating module is called The Era of Fake News. We've begun with a historical overview, we've walked through those critically evaluating skills and some examples of different media, and now it's time for students to really get a sense for propaganda and bias in our modern world. The overview really brings students into the topic by connecting it to their own opinions and giving them the sense that everybody is opinionated and the media can only be created by humans, and therefore the media can also carry opinion and bias. This is an important message for students to know. Coming from seventh grade, they'll have some understanding of the word bias, so it's great to kind of reconnect to that opinion, bias, media topic because they've had such a limited focus on that. The learning objectives walk them through what they need to know, and again, a module checklist is very clear cut for eighth graders, shows them what to do first and how it builds. When they click on the lecture, once again, you see the same template, and this will allow students to get a verbal overview from their professor.
This is Melissa Myers, and this is Module 3 of Media Awareness. This is the era of fake news. In this module, we will be covering propaganda.
So, propaganda is a really critical term for this module. Rather than expecting students to read and understand that term and absorb it on their own, Melissa has chosen to do a really clear pre teaching of that concept, which is important because, as you can see, as they move to readings and videos, they're showing you propaganda techniques. So, they need to have that basic understanding. The readings are a variety of either modern news sources or educational resources geared for the classroom. And the videos provide critical skills that students will later apply in their own analysis of propaganda and fake media. So these are really important critical skills as students get into the age where they do a lot of independent research, which is a lot of the eighth grade curriculum and Common Core. They really need to be able to independently evaluate the reliability of a source and determine whether something is propaganda or an honest attempt at informing them on a topic. When we return to Module 3, you'll see the Module 3 discussion is very clearly written. It gives broken down directions on how students are going to go about this task. They are provided with a list of different articles and resources, and their goal is to determine how to review each piece. So, in a video, they will create an example of a review determining if that piece of media is reliable or not and how they know. So this is recalling some of the skills from the previous module, and it's also requiring them to apply what they've heard in the resources and readings based on the characteristics and the strategies in propaganda. So this is kind of a culminating assignment in that the discussion ties together different pieces from different modules and really has an honest reflection on those different pieces. Below this, you can see the Google Hangout reminder, which is really critical because, again, it's the only synchronous meetup in the entire course. And this is a really important moment for eighth graders to come together and share their understanding. A online course will be something very new to them, so keeping that in a very clear description of what you need to bring to the table during that overview and how you can make that happen is going to be very important for this course. When you click on the assignment folder, students will be brought to the Module 3 assignment, which again extends beyond Module 2 content, ties together some of those critical revision skills and evaluatory skills with the understanding of propaganda and what the elements of that are. Here in the directions, students can clearly see that they need to create their own piece of propaganda supported with facts and citing their sources. This is a critical understanding that they need to have in order to really move forward and use this skill later in life. When you return to the screen, you can see that that assignment of creating their own individual propaganda is also linked to their journal assignment. Here they're going to find an example of fake news and explain why it's considered fake news. This skill is necessary in order to create their own version of propaganda under the assignment folder. They're going to need to be able to identify propaganda and fake news in the media. So I think these assignments go together very well and that they require the recognition and application and creation of the skill in different ways. So looking ahead at the very bottom, since this is the last module of this theoretical course, it tells students how they should go about their world moving forward with this newfound understanding of how to detect fake news. Also critically important is the syllabus and course materials. So you can see everything is here from the overview that they can download the syllabus to preparing for the course, policies and tips. You can also see the discussion board has Q&A, a module discussion for those that have a discussion assignment. And this is really a nice way of giving students a front and center overview of everything they need to know to be successful before they even look at the first module. So, this is our course, and we hope that you find it valuable and important. We think it is a very critical topic for eighth graders to understand, especially in today's crazy world with all the different types of media that they experience day to day. When we reflect on the building of this course, overall there are many elements that we're proud of. We think the content focus is incredibly important for eighth graders, and it's a great buildup of skills from that basic historical understanding to a more modern application of determining bias and propaganda. I think it's setting the base for future work. In addition, the next time we did this, or if we had to do it all over again, we might experiment a little bit more with color and sectioning in Blackboard. We spent a lot of time collaborating as a team, and it was kind of difficult to figure out exactly what we may want the overall design to be when we were really not able to practice or get involved in Blackboard early on since we were blueprinting in a Google Doc. So I think just getting into Blackboard sooner would have given us more time to worry about design elements within Blackboard. Also, some of the challenges with our team experience is that synchronous meetups were very difficult. When you're all working professionals, completing a graduate program, you have a lot going on in our lives. So I'm thinking maybe a discussion board would have been a good option for communicating throughout the week in small increments, and a little easier to follow than an email chain. So if we were to do it all over again, perhaps that would be something we would consider. Overall, I think our team worked well together and we're proud of the overall outcome of our work.